Imagine, like the U.S. government decides to build an artificial intelligence brain for its entire housing sector. Where would they even start? I mean, they wouldn't hold a massive press conference, right?
No, definitely not. There's no flashy marketing campaign for this kind of thing.
Exactly. Instead, they just quietly publish this totally mundane, 10-page document with a title that just makes your eyes glaze over. Something like Notice Number NFNC 2026-030.
Yeah, it's peak bureaucratic camouflage.
It really is.
Yeah.
So today we're taking a deep dive into that exact document. It's a sources sought notice from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD.
Yeah.
And our mission for you today is to translate this seemingly dry paperwork to reveal the hidden, honestly fascinating machinery of how a massive federal agency orchestrates a colossal technology upgrade.
And that administrative camouflage is, well, it's incredibly effective. Most people just scroll right past these notices, assuming it's just, routine housekeeping.
Oh, absolutely.
But a sources sought notice is essentially the government mapping the territory before they actually draw up binding legal blueprints for a multi-million-dollar project.
Right.
And the document we're looking at today is incredibly explicit about what it is not. Right at the top, in bold, capitalized letters, it states this is not a request for proposals.
Yeah, I saw that.
It does not represent a commitment by the government to establish a multiple award vehicle or, issue a solicitation.
The way I read this, it's basically testing the waters on a dating app. You're putting a highly specific profile out there saying, hey, I have these complex enterprise needs. I'm looking for a tech partner with these highly specialized skills.
Exactly. Who is actually out there in the current market?
Right. But you are not making any real commitment to actually go on a date. It's purely market research. I mean, paragraph 4 even explicitly says that submission of any capability information is strictly voluntary.
Yeah, and the government assumes absolutely zero financial responsibility for any costs you incur trying to respond to them.
It's wild. They're asking to see your resume, but they're not promising you a job interview.
And they certainly aren't validating your parking. They just need to know what the private sector is currently capable of delivering at scale.
So why is HUD testing the waters so carefully with zero commitment?
Well, it's because the project they're attempting to undertake is just massive. They're calling it H2TNG.
H2TNG.
Right.
Which stands for Technology Transformation Next Generation. And the scope outlined in paragraph 2 is staggering.
It really is.
The contractor would need to deliver comprehensive IT support services, they call it IS, and 2TNG solutions across a nationwide footprint. We're talking about supporting HUD headquarters, all of the regional offices, field offices, and their massive data centers.
And it spans across the functional areas of the Office of the Chief Information Officer, the OCIO.
Which is a huge umbrella.
Right. The document lists the OCIO front office, the Assistant Chief Information Officer for Business IT Resource Management, or ACIO BRAP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the Office of the Chief Technology Officer, the ACIO for Customer Relationship and Performance Management.
It just keeps going.
It does. The Office of the Chief Information Security Office, the ACIO OIO.
Okay, hold on, wait. Before we completely drown in the alphabet soup here,
Yeah.
I mean, what do all these sub-offices actually do in a real-world tech rollout? It sounds like an impossible bureaucratic maze.
I get that, but they actually form a highly specialized ecosystem. Think of it like building a digital city. BRM handles the budgeting and resources. They're basically the city planners allocating the funds.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then the chief technology officer is looking at the horizon, deciding what materials to use for the buildings. The information security office is building the city walls and the security checkpoints.
Right, so they all have to interact seamlessly for a project of this scale to actually work.
Exactly. If one of those offices isn't fully integrated into the new technology, the entire system fractures.
Okay, that definitely clarifies things. But nestled right in the middle of that dense list of traditional administrative layers are two sub-offices that completely stop you in your tracks.
Oh, I know exactly which ones you mean.
Yeah. There's the OAIO, which stands for the Office of the Artificial Intelligence Officer. And then there's the ODBO, the Office of Digital Business Officer.
Seeing those specialized offices embedded in a traditional federal agency's capability request, that points to a major paradigm shift.
It totally shatters a common assumption. Because I think most of us picture government technology as decades behind the curve, right? Like just use servers, green screen monitors, systems that crash if you try to open 2 tabs at once.
Right, the classic stereotype.
Yeah. So seeing dedicated artificial intelligence officers working at a housing department indicates this really aggressive push toward modernization What does an AI framework actually do for HUD?
Well, the applications are transformative.
Hmm.
Just consider the sheer volume of data HUD processes every single day. An AI framework could um, introduce predictive modeling to forecast local housing market crashes before they even happen.
Wow, okay.
Or it could automate the initial screening of massive backlogs for housing assistance applications. It could flag inconsistencies or potential fraud with machine learning algorithms rather than relying on manual human review.
Which completely redefines how fast those resources can actually reach citizens.
Exactly. And the ambition here is deeply embedded in the specific codes HUD uses in this document to categorize the work.
The PSC codes, right? The product and service codes.
Yeah, the document calls out several codes under the D300 category for IT and telecom. They mention D301, which is facility operation and maintenance, basically keeping the lights on and the servers running.
Standard stuff.
Right, standard. But they heavily prioritize D306, which is systems analysis, and D307, IT strategy and architecture.
So they aren't just hiring a digital janitor to maintain their legacy systems. They are actively prioritizing the strategy and architecture alongside these new AI and digital business offices.
Yes.
It honestly sounds like they're trying to swap out the engine of a car while it's still driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour.
That is the exact challenge. They have to maintain the current massive flow of daily national operations while simultaneously planning the fundamental architecture for how artificial intelligence will integrate into their core systems going forward.
Which is mind-boggling.
It is. They're basically figuring out the structural, load-bearing walls for a digital framework that doesn't even fully exist yet.
Okay, so if they are trying to execute this incredibly complex cutting-edge engine swap, how do they actually go about buying it? Because government purchasing isn't exactly known for speed or agility.
No, it's not.
The rules of the game outlined here seem like this maze that vendors have to navigate just to express interest.
Well, the entire acquisition falls under a specific North American Industry Classification System code, or NAICS. In this case, the code is 541512 for Computer Systems Design Services.
I always think of NAICS codes like kind of like the Dewey Decimal System for the entire economy. If you're a business, you have a specific number that tells the government exactly what shelf you belong on.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But it goes much deeper than just organizing the library, you know?
Yeah.
The government uses NAICS codes as functional mechanics to control the economic levers of the procurement.
How so?
Well, it allows them to ring-fence specific budgets. It ensures they aren't accidentally creating monopolies by mixing totally different industries into one contract. And more importantly, it dictates the size standard.
Like what counts as a small business?
Exactly. By tagging this with 541512, the government defines exactly what constitutes a small business for this specific type of work, which legally mandates certain quotas and protections. It creates a highly defined, legally binding playing field.
Okay, wait, I'm confused though. If HUD is looking for agile, cutting-edge AI startups to build this new architecture, why are they tying this to massive legacy bureaucratic frameworks?
I see what you mean.
Yeah, because paragraph 6 says they're considering establishing multiple blanket purchase agreements, BPAs, against federal supply schedule contracts. Doesn't leaning on these ancient-sounding schedules just bog down the innovative startups they're trying to attract?
It actually does the exact opposite, even though it seems totally counterintuitive. Large bureaucratic procurements starting from scratch are notoriously sluggish. They can take years of open bidding, vetting, and protests from losing companies.
Right.
By the time a standard contract is finally awarded, the AI technology they originally asked for would already be obsolete.
Because AI moves in months, not years.
Precisely. So the federal supply schedule is essentially a pre-vetted roster. Let's use a catering analogy.
Okay, I like food.
If you are throwing a massive ongoing corporate event, you do not want to negotiate the price and ingredients of every single appetizer every time you need a tray brought out. Oh, that would be a nightmare.
Right. You go to a reliable caterer who has already passed the health inspections and background checks. That is your federal supply schedule.
Ah, okay. And the blanket purchase agreement, the BPA, is like setting up an open tab with that caterer.
Exact.
You pre-negotiate the overarching terms so that when you actually need the tech services in real time, the ordering process is basically frictionless. You just say, put it on the tab, and the vendor gets to work.
That open tab mechanism is the only way a sprawling agency can keep pace with technological evolution. HUD is actively trying to bypass the longest, most drawn-out parts of the acquisition lifecycle.
That makes a lot of sense.
And to speed it up even more, the document explicitly mentions the U.S. General Services Administration, the GSA, and their Fast Lane vendor onboarding program. Right, because the Fast Lane program is specifically designed to get innovative IT vendors onto those government schedules much quicker than the traditional route. HUD is signaling to the market like, we need modern tech and we need vendors who know how to use modern fast-tracked procurement tools to get it to us.
And paragraph 9 also notes that, based on this market research, HUD might set aside the procurement entirely for small businesses, or they might open it to full and open competition.
So they're adjusting the parameters of the game based on who actually demonstrates the capacity to play.
Exactly.
So if they're mitigating all this risk up front with open tabs and fast lanes, they must be screening these vendors ruthlessly from the very first interaction.
Oh, absolutely.
How do they actually filter out the unqualified companies who just look good on paper? Because paragraph 8 of this notice outlines what looks like the ultimate capability test.
It is a rigorous test. HUD demands vendors prove they can provide services consistent in scope and scale with a massive national footprint we discussed earlier. They have to secure and apply the full range of corporate financial, human capital, and technical resources required to successfully perform similar requirements.
I really want to focus on subsection C because this really jumped out at me when I read it.
Yeah.
It demands a successful project management plan that includes compliance with program schedules, and then it lists cost containment, meeting tracking performance, hiring retention of key personnel, and risk mitigation.
Right. Those are key focus areas.
But why is there such a heavy, explicit emphasis on HR retention and budget tracking right alongside the actual technical capabilities? Why is keeping your employees happy given the same exact weight as building a functioning AI architecture?
Well, honestly, because it reflects the cold reality of massive IT transformations. When a giant technology project crashes, and I mean, they do crash, it's rarely because the underlying code was fundamentally flawed.
Right.
Yeah, projects fail because of budget overruns or because key talent jumps ship midway through the contract.
So a vendor promises the moon, wins the massive contract, but they lowballed the actual operational cost just to win the bid. 6 months in, they're hemorrhaging money and cutting corners.
Exactly. Or consider the AI engineers themselves. Imagine a vendor relies on a handful of brilliant engineers who understand the bespoke AI architecture they are building for HUD.
Okay.
Halfway through the build, a private tech firm poaches those specific engineers with massive corporate salaries. The project stalls, the institutional knowledge vanishes overnight, and the government is left holding an incomplete, totally useless digital framework.
Wow. So they're telling these vendors, we don't just care that you know how to build the rocket.
Yeah.
We need concrete proof that you won't run out of fuel halfway to orbit and that your pilots aren't going to just quit mid-flight.
That ties directly into subsection D, where HUD insists that vendors must provide services under a performance-based service acquisition contract.
Meaning what, exactly?
By emphasizing a performance-based contract, HUD is shifting the risk. Vendors are judged and compensated based on actual measurable outcomes and systemic stability, not just the technical promises they make in their initial proposals.
They're engineering the risk out of the equation before they even ask for a formal proposal.
Yes, they are.
And that ruthless filtering process extends all the way down to the submission instructions.
Yeah.
They are incredibly strict. Vendors have to email the responses by April 30, 2026 to 2 specific people, Travis Sutton and Gene Hamilton Jackson.
Yeah, and the subject line requirement alone acts as an initial filter. The document mandates a highly specific string.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's something like FOUO/INFO : sources sought notice NFNC 2026-03-DEM H2TNG dash, and then you insert your company name. With FOUO standing for official use only.
Exactly.
You just know that if a vendor forgets the backslash or typos the notice number, their email is getting caught by an inbox rule and sent straight to a spam folder. It's the Brown M&M test for government contracting. If a vendor cannot follow a simple, strict formatting instruction for an email subject line, HUD certainly cannot trust them to architect an enterprise-wide artificial intelligence framework.
That's a great point. And the cold, hard disclaimers in paragraphs 5 and 9 finalize that dynamic.
What do those say again?
While paragraph 5 states that all submissions become government property and will not be returned, and paragraph main states that HUD will explicitly not provide any feedback or evaluations to companies regarding their submissions.
Wait, really? So you spend all this time proving you have the financial stability, the HR retention strategies, the AI architecture skills. You format the subject line perfectly, and it just vanishes into a black hole. You get absolutely nothing back.
It functions as a one-way mirror. The government gets to look out and survey the entire landscape of the market, evaluating the strengths, weaknesses, and pricing structures of every vendor.
But the vendors get nothing.
The vendors get no intelligence in return, except the hope that they might be well-positioned when the actual request for proposals is eventually released. It is a calculated, asymmetric exchange of information designed entirely to protect the government's interests and taxpayers' funds.
So why should you, the listener, care about this obscure notice? Because whether you are an IT vendor trying to decipher the unwritten functional mechanics of federal procurement, a taxpayer curious about how billions of dollars are managed and allocated, or just a professional dealing with your own corporate RFPs, this document is a masterclass.
It really is.
It reveals exactly how massive, slow-moving institutions signal impending radical change while aggressively mitigating their own risk at every single step.
We decoded the entire life cycle of this exploratory phase today. We looked at the sheer scale of the H2TNG initiative and the mechanics of how HUD is quietly integrating advanced AI and digital strategy through specialized offices like the OAIO. We navigated the complex acquisition strategy, how NAICS codes define the playing field, and how BPAs and the GSA fast lane allow the government to bypass sluggish procurement cycles. Finally, we examined those rigorous vendor capability tests, revealing that human talent retention and cost containment are just as critical to a tech rollout as the technological prowess itself.
We took the dry, camouflaged paperwork and found the blueprint for the future hiding inside it. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. We spent our time today analyzing the mechanics of how the government buys technology and the corporate vendors who will actually supply it.
Yeah.
But think about the end user. Think about the core mission of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. If a massive traditional federal entity is, right now, laying the architectural groundwork for an Office of the Artificial Intelligence Officer across its national branches and data centers, how will that underlying technology fundamentally change a citizen's everyday experience of applying for housing assistance in the next decade?
That's the real question.
When that architecture is finally built, what will that interaction actually feel like for the person on the other side of the screen? Something to mull over. Until next time.